You having fun?
Are you a loser? Does Hulk stand a chance?
Well, the month of October and all those Halloween Havoc reviews, those are officially in the rear view here in the Classic Pay-Per-View review. Now that it's the month of November, it's time for us to look back at some classic Survivor Series shows. I have a lot to catch up on with this particular event, so let's begin with the Inaugural, the first one, the one that ruined Starrcade and Jim Crockett Promotions. I'm talking about WWF Survivor Series 1987 from Thanksgiving night, November 26th at the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio, or as they called it, suburban Cleveland. This show was nominated by Ewan Downey over at patreon.com/wrestlingwithwregret. Like I said, this show was pretty much created with the specific intent in mind of sinking Starrcade and Jim Crockett Promotions. The way this happened was Starrcade had been running for a few years on closed circuit television, so 87 was going to be the first year where they went on legitimate pay-per-view. But of course, the WWF being the kings of pay-per-view at that time, they had a lot of clout. They told the pay-per-view companies, hey, you shouldn't run Starrcade, and the pay-per-view company said, hey, you should come up with something in its place. So they announced in September that this new show, Survivor Series, is going to be happening on Thanksgiving night. This is the first pay-per-view they were doing that wasn't WrestleMania or the Wrestling Classic if you want to get technical, so it's kind of a big deal. Jim Crockett Promotions decides to move Starrcade back to earlier in the day so as not to directly conflict with Survivor Series, but that wasn't good enough for the World Wrestling Federation. They sent an ultimatum to those cable and those pay-per-view companies saying, hey, we're not going to let you air WrestleMania 4 next year if you run both of these shows. And so most, not all the cable companies, all but maybe 4 or 5 of them, responded to this ultimatum by picking Survivor Series and not running Starrcade. And so Starrcade, as a result, suffered deeply because of this. Survivor Series got 325,000 pay-per-view buys. Starrcade only got maybe about 20,000, and that was really the beginning of the end for Jim Crockett Promotions. The show drew 21,300 fans to the Richfield Coliseum, where they would host the show again the following year and in 1992. Two big things happening in the World Wrestling Federation around this time in terms of, canon and storyline and everything. First of all, we really got the beginning of the Mega Powers formation. Saturday night's main event had just recently aired, and that show had the famous Honky Tonk Man Randy Savage match for the IC title, ending with Hulk Hogan making the save once Savage was getting beat down, and that really began the Mega Powers as we knew it, setting in motion their storyline for WrestleMania 5. Also, a big moment in the music world happened during this time when Piledriver, the wrestling album 2, was released. Of course, this album has all the classics like the Honky Tonk Man's theme, Jive Soul Bro, Stand Back by Vince McMahon was on there as well, and many other things. The Demolition theme is on there. It's a very classic, iconic wrestling album, so very big moment in time for the WWF around this time. Mania 3 had just happened, leading into this first ever Survivor Series, so things were looking pretty good for the Federation around this time. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary here. Looks like Ventura is wearing a lot of blush here. The two break down the rules, then they toss over to Craig DeGeorge backstage with Team Honky. Honky Tonk Man, King Harley Race, Hercules, Dangerous Danny Davis, and Outlaw Ron Bass. And everyone's shouting as Honky Tonk threatens to hit the shake, rattle, and roll on Elizabeth if she gets in his way. We go over to Mean Gene Okerlund with Macho Man and his team. That's Hacksaw Duggan, Brutus Beefcake, Jacob the Snake Up Roberts, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who are now no longer rivals, he and Savage. So we go to that first match now, the first ever Survivor Series matchup in history as Team Honky Tonk Man takes on Team Savage, aka Honky Tonk Man versus all the people he's pissed off in the past year while he's been Intercontinental Champion. And hey, my favorite screaming referee is in this match here. It starts off with Beefer and Herc. Brutus gets a big run of hip tosses on the baddies. Danny Davis gets knocked around a bit by a few of the faces. The Dragon skins the cat twice and throws Harley Race out of the ring. Great moment there. Duggan comes into the match now. He's all over Harley. These two have beef from recently when they feuded over the crown. Both of those guys are counted out and eliminated. We're down 4-4 right away. Savage gets his hands on Honky Tonk for a moment before Ron Bass gets in there. Blind tag to Brother Brutai, who hits the big knee lift on Bass for another elimination. Brutus takes a lot of offense from Honky Tonk here, but Beefcake with an atomic drop to come back. Great sell by Honky. Davis with a cheap shot to Brutus. The referee's looking right at. The shake, rattle, and roll means Beefer is gone. Now the Macho Macho Man's getting worked over by the heels here. He tags in Jake. We get a mini hot tag. He fires up against Danny Davis, lays him out with a clothesline, the DDT, DDT. Think about it. Davis is gone. Herc and Honk take turns wearing down Roberts. Jake finally gets an opening and tags in Steamboat, who's all over Hercules. He sets Herc up for a Macho Man diving elbow. Hercules is gone. Now Honky Tonk Man is all by himself. He's getting knocked around by 3 dudes. He gets launched out of the ring. He stays outside. He gets himself counted out. Savage, Steamboat, and Roberts win the match for their team. I give the match 2.5 stars out of 5. Pretty good story with this matchup here. I get why they wanted to protect Honky Tonk Man and not have him eat a pinfall from anybody. I mean, Honky was very well protected while he was the Intercontinental Champion. He took very few, if any, televised losses, straight up pinfall losses especially. So for him to get that count out loss, it's very much in line with the character. I think it would have been cool though to see the fans get something kind of nice and big to kind of open the thing up. Hey, Honky Tonk Man got beat by somebody. That's a pretty big moment, but we didn't really get that here. But we'll hear from the Intercontinental Champion a little later in the show. Backstage again with Craig DeGeorge talking with Bobby Heenan and Team Andre. Andre the Giant is captain of this team comprising of one-man gang, King Kong Bundy, Rick Rude, and Butch Reed. Heenan insisting Andre was cheated at WrestleMania 3 and that justice will be served tonight. Andre saying he's done it once to Hogan, he'll do it again. Slick saying these men are going to turn into animals tonight. Andre wraps it up saying he's coming for Hogan's soul and that he will be the survivor. Very fiery Andre promo here. And now it's time for the first ever Women's Survivor Series matchup because, hey, we got to fill this pay-per-view with something. Let's get some more bodies in there. Up first, Team Sherri. There's the women's champ, Sensational Sherri Martel. The women's tag team champions, Leilani Kai and Judy Martin. The Glamour Girls, Dawn Marie, no, not that one, and Donna Christianello. They're taking on Team Moolah. The captain here is the fabulous Moolah with Velvet McIntyre, Rockin' Robin, and the Jumping Bomb Angels. Early on, Velvet with a victory roll and Christianello for her to be gone. The heels begin working over Rockin' Robin, but Robin comes back, hits Dawn Marie, no, not that one, with a crossbody to eliminate her. Itsuki of the Bomb Angels working unlike anyone else we've seen so far in this match. In comes her partner Norio with some more of the same. Sherri hits a vertical suplex to eliminate Robin, and that's it for her. McIntyre with a cool tilt-a-whirl version of the crossbody here. Itsuki slams Leilani Kai off the top with a hair mare. Moolah's back in the ring now, really asserting herself. This is some dominant performance by Moolah. Judy Martin comes back with a sneaky double clothesline near the ropes, and Moolah's out. We are tied at 3 left. Velvet spending a fair amount of time in this ring getting beat up at this point. Sherri darn near drops her on her head. Leilani Kai gets in there with Itsuki, a double underhook suplex and a cover. There's an obvious bridge. The bell rings anyway. The referee waves it off. So there's some confusion there. Velvet hitting Sherri with the giant swing. Velvet with another victory roll, her big move of the night. She eliminates the champion, Sherri. Itsuki powers Judy Martin over with a double underhook suplex. Big body scissors gets a big pop. Velvet goes for yet another victory roll, but it costs her. She takes one of the biggest bumps in the match, being bounced off the ropes, and we're down to 2-on-2 as the 2 established tag teams are all that's left here. Leilani goes up top and misses entirely. Norio with a top rope cross body in the elimination. Martin's left to fend for herself, which does not end well. Jimmy Hart gets on the apron and pays for it. Big old bump here by Jimmy. A diving clothesline to Martin has the Jumping Bomb Angels surviving the match. I give this one 2 stars out of 5. The ladies did the best they could here. They had far less time to work with than any of the men's matches on this show. And of course, you know, the style of the time, I've talked about this before, how so many women from this era came from that fabulous Moolah school of wrestling, so they all kind of wrestle similar styles. But I mean, the Jumping Bomb Angels were phenomenal here. The work that they would do with the Glamour Girls throughout this year in time in the WWF was really exciting stuff, very much ahead of their time, and the stuff that they did was great. The rest of the ladies, though, not so much. Craig is backstage with even more shouting. The Hart Foundation, Demolition, the New Dream Team, and the Islanders. There's a lot of guys there. Bobby Heenan hoping that Strike Force gets the beating of their life. Jimmy Hart comes in. He's mid-suit change here, and he vows revenge for what just happened. Meanwhile, in the ring, the rest of the baddie team, the Bolsheviks and Slick, they're there as Nikolai Volkov sings the Russian national anthem. Mean Gene's backstage with Team Strike Force. Now, Tito Santana and Rick Martel just recently beat the Hart Foundation to become the new tag champs only a couple of weeks ago, and only after being a team for a very limited amount of time compared to Bret and Anvil. Strikeforce is there with the British Bulldogs, the Rougeaus, the Killer Bees, the Young Stallions, and more shouting! So we go to that Tag Team Survivor Series tag team match now. You got all these teams together here, and if one person leaves, the whole team goes. It's going to be Team Hart Foundation versus Team Strikeforce. And wow, look at this very, very crowded ring here. It starts with Volkov and Santana. It's ridiculous seeing these guys trying to hit the ropes and everyone's got to move around them. Santana decks Boris Zukov with a flying forearm for the pin and the elimination. Both he and Volkov are gone. Demolition, the Rougeaus, the New Dream Team, the Killer Bees, the Bulldogs all get some time in the span of like 30 seconds. Everyone's cycling in and out. Paul Roma of the Stallions getting worked over by the Islanders in Demolition. Jacques missing the crossbody off the turnbuckle. Axe covers with a quick pin. The Rougeaus are gone. Nice double team by Jimmy Jam Neidhart and the man called Haku on Jim Powers. Smash and Axe beating the hell out of Dynamite Kid. They straight up shove the referee. That gets them disqualified and they're gone. Bret Hart finally enters the fray for the first time. More guys cycling through. Santana with the forearm again, but the pin is broken up. That knocks him out as Neidhart pins and eliminates Strikeforce. Greg Valentine with a rare top rope maneuver on Jim Powers, who's been getting the crap beat out of him all match. He tags Dynamite in. He and Bret have their moments to shine here and there in the match. A lot of chemistry and history with Bret and Dynamite. Davey Boy Smith in there for a second. Haku with the thrust kick to Dynamite. The Bulldogs are gone, which, by the way, that elimination is not there on the Coliseum video release. For whatever reason, the Bulldogs elimination is just gone. We get a sidewalk slam by Dino Bravo. Hammer goes to the figure four a couple of times, but he misses the blind tag. A beautiful top rope sunset flip by Roma onto Hammer for the elimination. Screamy Ref looking like a total mess at this point, his shirt falling out and shit. The match starts to slow down as we're down to an 8-man tag now. Some good back and forth. A double team attempt backfires on Bret, and jumping Jim Brunzell rolls him up for 3. The Hart Foundation is done. The Islanders are all by themselves here. Brunzell taking a lot of punishment, but he finally tags in Powers. He and Roma get a small run. The Killer Bees using dirty, cheating tactics to cover Toma for the win. The Stallions and the Bees are the survivors. I give this one 4 stars out of 5. It's my favorite match of the evening, and credit to the people involved, because with so many bodies in that ring, to the point where you couldn't even get a good shot of what was going on in the ring itself, when they were wrestling at the beginning, you had to do a lot of cycling in and out, a lot of fast-paced stuff in the first half of that match, and that was really exciting, very fun. And the story they told from like the second half on, when it was 8 men down, that was pretty well done as well. Again, I must protest, and I must say I do not approve of the Killer Bees and their little twin magic with the masks. I'm on the side of Jesse Ventura on this one. Now, to kill some time on this pay-per-view, we go to a vignette from Ted DiBiase, who's not on this show, but he is definitely a big presence with this vignette, talking about what he's thankful for. The money, of course, but what he's really thankful for is what people will do for his money. So we get this story told of Ted talking about this in all these extravagant ways. He's riding in a car, he's driving a fancy car, he's eating a fancy meal, he's doing all these very fancy rich person things. He's talking about all the things he's done. Talking about the kid with the basketball, kid doing push-ups, talking about RVD kissing his feet, Linda McMahon on all fours and barking like a dog. Man, what a heel this guy is. Gorilla and Jesse kill even more time talking about the show thus far. Then we go to the stage area for Honky Tonk Man and Colonel Jimmy Hart having a promo. Honky puts over how he's the true survivor because he faced a 3-on-1 situation and was not defeated. Gotta love that heel logic. He runs down Hogan and Savage, reiterates he's the greatest of all time. Jimmy Hart agrees with him and they leave. And now we go to our main event. This match is, of course, the big continuation of the epic, iconic feud between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. It's Andre's first official match back since WrestleMania 3, by the way. Yeah, Team Hulk Hogan. It's the Hulkster, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ken Patera, Paul Orndorff, and Don Morocco, who was a last-minute replacement for superstar Billy Graham, versus Andre, the one-man gang, King Kong Bundy, Butch Reed, and Rick Rude? No, more like Rick Road. Team Hogan back in the interview zone. The champ's got little braids on his headband as he puts over all his buds, how hungry they are, how they want to fight, shouting about survival. The action starts with Don Morocco and Rick Rude, then all the faces take turns beating Rude up. Butch Reed comes in, takes a pummeling, gets a leg drop, he's gone. Hogan doing the big gimme 5 spot with Patera as Andre sneaks up to Hogan. They do the big face off. It looks like we're about to get that, but they suddenly argue that Patera was tagged in during the high five, so bit of a controversial call. Ventura and the fans not liking that one bit. In comes the one-man gang, withstanding a lot of of offense before he takes over for the baddies here. Patera with a full head of steam, but Gang is just bigger than him and stops him in his tracks with the elimination. Bigelow and Hogan with a double boot to Gang. Rude comes in and bumps his ass off some more, but he is able to roll up Orndorff and grab the tights to eliminate him. Morocco with a power slam to Rude, and he's gone. We're down to 3 guys apiece. Andre with some blatant cheating gives Gang the chance to splash Morocco, and now The Rock is eliminated. Bigelow gets worked over by all the big guys here. Andre finally gets in there, wants to do something, but Bigelow rolls away and makes the tag to Hogan. Hogan all over the Giant until Bundy pulls him out of the ring. He slams Gang, slams Bundy, but gets counted out. It's down to Andre, Bundy, and the one-man gang versus a very worn-down Bam Bam Bigelow. Bigelow comes back, hits the slingshot splash to eliminate Bundy. Gang goes for a top rope splash, but he misses. Bam Bam covers and eliminates him. Can he do it? We're down to one-on-one action here. Andre comes in and beats down on Bigelow. Bam Bam doing some rolls, goes to run one more time, but Andre with the quickness, he dodges it somehow. Andre with an underhook into a suplex question mark. The cover and Bigelow is done. Andre wins and is the first sole survivor in Survivor Series history. Right after the bell, that sore loser Hogan runs back to the ring, decks Andre with a title belt until Andre leaves. Hey, Hogan didn't win, but he still must pose, and that's what matters, damn it. I give this one 3.5 stars out of 5. This is a solid main event here. I think, again, for a match that was very first time, kind of experimental on pay-per-view, I think they did a good job with the pacing of this one. The story they told I thought was great, how it was down to Bigelow at the very end. Great showing for Bam Bam here, and really looking like he could do something here. But Andre putting over how much of a threat he still is, used very limited, but still was able to be effective and end up putting Bigelow away at the end, even taking his own bump at the end. I was very surprised by that for Andre to win, and yeah, I thought just very, very well done main event. The show wraps up with Mean Gene in the promo zone with Bobby Heenan and Andre. Heenan says that if Hogan wants him, he can have him. Man, I love the energy in Heenan's voice here. He's pumped that his man won. Andre reminds everyone he is the survivor. Jesse Ventura is happy to leave Cleveland, or suburban Cleveland as it is, and that's how the show ends. My grade for the 1987 Survivor Series is a B. I think that for an inaugural pay-per-view like this, new uncharted territory, every match a very different match type than what you're used to, I think they pulled it off well. Like, some matches were paced a little bit better than others, but really I had no problem with any of these matches. They flowed relatively well. I felt kind of bad for some of the people who were there not very long, like, you know, Butch Reed and the Bolsheviks and everything, but I think that everyone else who got a chance to shine and be in these matches did fairly well for themselves. And again, getting this new concept over, I think they did a good job. If you're a fan of 10-man elimination tag team matches, well, brother, this is the show for you. And of course, you can't discount the impact and the legacy the Survivor Series has had on wrestling 35 years later. You think about all of the big debuts, all the stars and the legends who would debut at Survivor Series and the impact they themselves made. I would even argue that Survivor Series is more pivotal a show to WWF's overall ecosystem and their universe than WrestleMania, because of all the different things it has brought us and how purely experimental Survivor Series seems to be. For all the good and the bad Survivor Series has seen, yes, including the gobbledygooker, we have seen a lot of big steps and big choices made in Survivor Series. Survivor Series itself was a big choice by the World Wrestling Federation, so the fact that it has, much to Vince McMahon's chagrin, stuck around all these times, all the years we heard he was going to get rid of Survivor Series, and all the fact, oh, we can't get rid of Survivor Series because of the history. There's a reason that I think Survivor Series does hold a place in a lot of people's hearts, even if these 8 to 10-man elimination matches may not stand the test of time, or some people might be bored with them. Survivor Series as a concept, as a pay-per-view, it's classic, it is iconic, and so to see the first one here and knowing everything that comes after it, it's pretty cool. It's pretty pivotal. But there are so many other classic Survivor Series for little old me to review on this channel. What could I do next? Where on the timeline will I jump? How about the pivotal year of 1999, in which Stone Cold Steve Austin is hit with a dang old car? I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.